please hit that subscribe button. Hey everybody, better suited to win the Stanley Cup this season. If you are new to the channel, Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins.
Locked on and he scored! And we're live. Hey everybody, so it's time for another episode of Hit or Miss, where I look at NHL teams' first round draft picks from 2005 through 2015 and determine if each pick is a hit or a miss. Today we're going to be talking about the Washington Capitals. Before I begin, I just ask that you please hit that subscribe button if you're new and give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already, as both of those things greatly help out the channel and are very much appreciated. But let's get into it here with the Washington Capitals starting in 2005, where they had two first round draft picks. First one coming 14th overall, where they took defenseman Sasha Pokulak. I hope I said that right. I've never heard of this player, and it was obviously a miss with that pick, as Pokulak never played an NHL game, zeros across the board, and obviously did not work out as an NHL defenseman. They drafted again at 27th overall and took defenseman Joe Finley. I do know that name because he played at North Dakota in college, I believe. But he only ever played 21 games in the NHL, scoring no goals, 1 assist for 1 point, and a -8 rating, and that's obviously a miss as well. So no dice with their first round picks in 2005, but then we move on to 2006, and they more than make up for it, because in 2006, they drafted once again twice in the first round. The first one this time coming 4th overall, where they got center Niklas Backstrom. Now, I don't think I need to go into great detail about Niklas Backstrom. He has become an all-time great Washington Capital, still on the team to this day, probably going to play his entire career with the Capitals, and a major reason why the Caps are one of the best teams in the league. He's played 956 games in the NHL, scoring 243 goals, 684 assists. Yes, 684, not points, just assists, for 927 points in his career and a plus 119 career rating. Absolutely incredible. Still underrated center in the NHL, and a massive home run with that pick. And they selected again 23rd overall, where they took goaltender Semyon Varlamov, who is also a hit as he has gone on to play 493 games in the NHL, putting up a record of 232, 183, and 56 with a 2.67 goals against average and a .915 save percentage. He never became a top-tier NHL goaltender or like a Vezina-type guy or anything like that, but he's had a very solid career as a starting goalie in the NHL, and he's now with the New York Islanders. In 2007, they selected 5th overall, and with that pick, they took defenseman Karl Alzner. This one's also a hit. Yes, Alzner obviously went to Montreal on that huge contract and completely fell flat on his face, fell off the face of the earth, and has ended up getting waived to the minors and was horrible. But people don't forget how good Karl Alzner was when he was in Washington. He was a very good second pair defenseman. He and John Carlson came up pretty much together with Washington, and they were awesome for a number of years. Then Alzner went and signed that big contract with Montreal, and obviously that has been a complete disaster, but that does not take away from his time in Washington. That does not take away from how good he once was, and that makes him a hit. 686 career games, 20 goals, 110 assists, 130 career points, and a plus 54 career rating. He was a spectacular defenseman with the Washington Capitals before leaving. In 2008, they once again had two first-round draft picks. The first one coming 21st overall, where they took center Anton Gustafson. And this one is a miss, as Gustafson never played an NHL game. Zeros across the board for him. Obviously not what you're looking for with a first-round pick, so that's a miss. But don't worry, 27th overall, they got defenseman John Carlson. And do I really need to say any more than that? He has become one of the best defensemen in the NHL. He would have won the Norris Trophy this season if the season continued. If the season does continue, he's going to win the Norris Trophy. Just incredibly good defenseman. 757 career games played, 105 goals, 373 career assists for 478 points and a plus 92 in his career. He's become the Capitals' best defenseman and one of the best defensemen in the entire NHL. So John Carlson's a massive home run there. 2009, they selected 24th overall and took forward Marcus Johansson. Another hit, as Johansson, who's played for a few different teams now, has put together a very, very solid NHL career, especially for a late first-round pick. 648 games played, 129 goals, 235 assists, 364 career points, and a minus 17 rating. He's been a really solid player everywhere he's gone. Never like a first-line superstar type guy, but always like a solid second or third-line secondary scorer. And he's put a very, very nice career together that's still continuing. In 2010, they selected 26th overall and hit another massive home run by drafting Evgeny Kuznetsov, who has now gone on to be one of their best players and one of the best centers in the entire NHL. Massive hit here, 479 games played, 120 career goals, 269 career assists for 389 points and a plus 61 rating. He's become one of the top 6 centers in the league and has been incredibly good and productive with the Washington Capitals. 2011, they did not have a first-round draft pick, so we move on to 2012, where once again they picked twice in the first round. This team has had a lot of first-round picks, all while still being one of the top teams in the NHL. The 11th overall, they took left wing Filip Forsberg. Now, this is a massive, massive hit that I bet the Capitals wish they could get a redo on the trading of Filip Forsberg, because that's a whole different story. As he was traded to Nashville before he ever really made it to the NHL for Martin Erat. Erat was a huge bust in Washington. Forsberg has gone on to become an incredibly productive goal scorer with the Nashville Predators, playing 458 career games, scoring 166 goals, 187 assists for 353 points, and a plus 27 rating. And the Caps definitely want to redo on that trade. But Forsberg was a great pick at 11th overall. It's just too bad Washington didn't get to reap the rewards of that. They picked again 16th overall and took right wing Tom Wilson. And what do you know? Another hit, as Wilson has now become a huge top 6 forward for them. A really important piece of that lineup. One of the most physical players left in the entire NHL. 522 games played, 78 goals, 110 assists, 188 career points, and a plus 30 rating. It was all about the physicality with Tom Wilson when he first came into the league, but over the last couple of seasons, he has really developed offensively and started to score goals at a much higher rate. He's a 20-goal guy now and can produce offensively at a top 6 level while still bringing the physicality and dropping the gloves. And that is incredibly valuable for the Washington Capitals, and he's become a huge piece of that team. In 2013, they selected 23rd overall. And with that pick, they took left wing Andrei Burakovsky. And Burakovsky is no longer with the Capitals. He's now with the Colorado Avalanche, but he is still absolutely a hit as he has played 386 games in the NHL, scoring 82 goals, 108 assists, 190 career points, and a plus 45 rating. One thing, when you draft this well, you can't keep everybody. You can't afford to keep everybody. And that's, I think, what we saw with Andrei Burakovsky. And also, the next guy we're going to talk about came up and basically took Burakovsky's spot. And that is their 2014 first-round pick, which came 13th overall, where they took left wing Jakob Vrana. Jakob Vrana is another massive hit as he's played 245 games in the NHL, scoring 65 goals, 67 assists for 132 points, and a plus 27 rating. And over the last 2 seasons, he has really started to develop offensively. He's a top 6 winger for the Capitals now, their second-line left wing, and scoring at a very, very good clip for that type of player. Still young, obviously, drafted only 6 years ago. And he has a very, very bright future ahead of him with the Washington Capitals. So I am a huge fan of Jakob Vrana, And he is really just developing and growing and getting better and better as the years go along. So absolutely a hit there. And then finally, 2015, 22nd overall, they took goaltender Ilya Samsonov, and it's another hit as Samsonov in his rookie season this year, backing up Braden Holtby, played 26 games. He went 16, 6, and 2 with a 2.55 goals against average and a 913 save percentage. Played very, very well for a young goaltender, and I think Braden Holtby will be gone in free agency this offseason, and Ilya Samsonov is probably going to be the starting goaltender for the Washington Capitals next season. Drafted just 5 years ago. He's only 22, 23 years old. Very, very bright future for Ilya Samsonov, one of the best young goalies in the league, and absolutely a massive hit with that pick. So, boy, Washington, spectacular at drafting overall. They've had a ton of picks in the first round during this time span from 2005 through 2015, and they certainly made the most of most of those selections. They've been incredibly good drafting, and that's why they're consistently one of the best teams in the NHL year in and year out, because they draft extremely well. Their management in general is extremely good in Washington. They draft well, they trade well for the most part. Obviously, we talked about the Forsberg for Erat trade was terrible, but for the most part, they've traded well, and they've signed well in free agency. This is a team that is run very, very well from the top down, and that's why they are consistently one of the top teams in the league every single year. They have great players, great roster, and they've done a great job of keeping that group together, and their draft picks are they just keep on coming. I mean, look at their recent draft picks. Burakovsky was a hit. They couldn't keep him because Jakob Vrana, their pick from the next year, literally just came in and took his spot in the lineup as the second line left wing. And now Samsonov, it looks like they have their goalie of the future. I mean, they're big pieces of their team now. They mostly drafted. I mean, they drafted Ovechkin, which was before this time frame in 2004, but they drafted Niklas Backstrom. They drafted John Carlson. I mean, they've done an incredibly, incredibly good job building that team. So with that, guys, like, comment, share, subscribe. Follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.